Your pre-throw routine is killing your velocity, whether you're a guy who takes an hour to warm up or if you're a guy who does a single quad pull and feels like they're ready to go. Believe it or not, there's not just one pre-throw routine that works for everybody. It's really a delicate process and depends on your anatomy, which I'm going to go through in this video. If you don't know me yet, my name is Carter Endisch. I'm a doctor of physical therapy student and I'm a current pitcher at Lewis University, and I help pitchers like you dominate on the mound and stay healthy while doing it. Because of my background in the fields that I just mentioned, I'm able to take in athletes and properly assess them so I can give them fully individualized pre-throw routine, mechanical work, daily mobility, strength and conditioning, and even more. On top of my educational experience, I also unfortunately experienced a lot of injuries, especially early in my college career, which I actually attribute to my improper pre-throw routine at the time. So now I want to teach you so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did early in my college days. Specifically with the pre-throw routine itself, it's a very misunderstood concept, and I generally see two very extreme sides to it. It's either people take way too long or they take no time at all. It could be up to an hour and it could be as little as 2 minutes. The answer is actually somewhere in the middle of those two, but it's really not about the time. It's really about what we incorporate and how we can do it efficiently. For the guys who go super short in their routines, they're never going to be physically ready to throw. But for the guys who go super long in their routines, they're getting diminishing returns past a certain point. Let's talk about exactly how I program warm-ups based on different athletes' needs. To make this video easier to understand, I'm going to be placing guys into 3 different buckets based on their mobility. So bucket number 1 is going to be more immobile guys. Bucket number 2 is going to be hypermobile guys, so guys with a lot of joint laxity. And then bucket number 3 is going to be guys that are more in the middle. Let's start with bucket number 1, which is our more immobile athletes. For these guys specifically, the warm-up is going to be just a little bit longer than the others, just because they need some more time to do what they need. There is a couple of reasons for this, the first being that they may need to add in a couple of things that other guys don't need to into their warm-up, just because they need to battle the effects of being more immobile. For this bucket specifically, again we're talking about the immobile guys, raising their body temperature is super crucial, even more important than the bucket 2 and 3 guys would be. When muscles are cold, they're less flexible and less efficient. So if a guy is already immobile, we really need to make sure that body temperature gets up. Not only does this group need to focus more and take some more time potentially on getting their body temperature up, they also may need to add in some manual stretching aspects that other groups may not need to. The manual stretching, of course, is trying to maximize the range of motion that we have before we go to throw for these immobile athletes. After this, however, we do need to go back and reinforce some of that stiffness through activation of the core muscles, the rotator cuff, and the scapula of this group. Even with adding a few aspects for this group, such as maybe some longer time for the body temperature to rise and also the manual stretching, I still would say around 25 minutes would be the maximum, maybe 30 minutes for this group. Moving on to bucket number 2, we're looking at our hypermobile guys, and we're going to see a lot different things here, especially with shorter times and different ways to warm up. So with mobility, also most times comes instability. So with these guys, we don't want to add more range of motion that they already have. They actually sometimes have too much of. Instead, we want to reinforce that stability with them. Since we're not trying to gain any range of motion with these guys, I would actually prefer to take away most of the groundwork stuff and instead opt for more just stability work. As much as we need to target stabilization with these hypermobile guys, at the same time, if we do too much of that pre-throwing, we're just going to get exhausted and lose velocity on the mound. So as you can see, it is a bit of a balancing act. So with this hypermobility and the lack of need for more range of motion, I would say that these guys are maybe going to be 15 to 20 minute long warm-up sessions. Moving on to bucket number 3, these are the guys again that are in between buckets 1 and 2. They're not super hypermobile, but they're not immobile either. For the cases like bucket number 3, you're really just going to combine some of the ideas from bucket 1 and bucket 2. Do they need as much mobility work as the bucket 1 guys do who are immobile? No. And do they need as much stability work as the guys from bucket number 2 that are hypermobile? Also no. So we're going to go somewhere in between the two, finding a middle ground for the body temperature warm-up, a middle ground for the mobility work, a middle ground for the stability work, really just mixing together buckets 1 and 2. I'm going to show you exact examples of real warm-ups that I wrote for my athletes, all fitting into the buckets of an immobile athlete, a hypermobile athlete, and an in-between athlete. Before I get into the actual warm-ups of all these guys, I just want to show you exactly how every exercise from warm-up to throwing drills to lifts are super easy to understand through my videos being linked as you can see here. You simply click on the link of a drill or exercise and you can immediately see what you need to do based on the video. This assessment here was for my guy Mason. I'll show you the quick rundown of his initial assessment, and as you can see here, there is a lot of red which indicates a failed test. So again, he is clearly a guy who is less mobile and he would definitely require some more ground mobility work and overall a little bit more time to warm up his body. This is then the warm-up that I programmed for him based on what he required based on his assessments. So as you can see, it includes all the aspects that we talked about earlier for someone with a lack of range of motion. You see his soft tissue work first, more mobility drills than the other guys may do in this section here, some ground-based warm-up, scapular control drills, and rotator cuff activation, and lastly also some movement and some sprints to raise the body temperature. Next up, my athlete Phil, who's an absolute mobility freak, as you can see in this assessment. There's absolutely no reason to be pushing him for more mobility, especially in his warm-up. This warm-up is for him specifically as a hypermobile athlete, but you're still going to see maybe some general ideas to the warm-up for an immobile athlete, but there are still a lot of changes as you can see. Again, soft tissue first, but right away you're going to see far less mobility drills in this section for him, and essentially no ground-based warm-up as I opted for more active or standing options. One thing different in his warm-up is rhythmic stabilizations, which is essentially when the athlete would perform alternating contractions against resistance, oftentimes by another person. So this is specific for him as, of course, the name suggests, it would help his stability on top of doing other scap control and activation drills. Lastly, my athlete Dylan that fits into bucket 3 as an in-between guy. Definitely not a horrible assessment, but you can see here some things that definitely need some work. As I mentioned before, this archetype would require a good mix of both bucket 1 and bucket 2, falling more in the middle for the need for both stability and mobility, as well as just a general warm-up. As you look through his warm-up, you're going to notice some aspects of bucket number 1 and bucket number 2, as like I said, he just needs a good mix of everything. You're going to see everything from soft tissue to some ground-based movements to stabilization. Even with some of the guys requiring some extra aspects like the immobile guys, I still would say anything over 30 minutes would be pretty excessive for a warm-up. Just to reiterate, definitely anything over 30 minutes for a warm-up is just excessive, but at the same time, it can't just be a quick jog into going to throw. I would say my personal ideal time is about 20 minutes, and I would expect that my athletes fall between the 15 to 25 minute range depending on what bucket they fall into. If you're a high school or a college pitcher and you're lost in your training, reach out to me on Instagram for help achieving your dreams. A proper warm-up routine based on your needs can literally change your career just like any other aspect can. I know this can be an overwhelming process, so feel free to reach out to me for help either through DMs or comments, and also comment below what you want to see next.